The House Insurance Committee will come to order. Mr. Clerk, will you please take attendance?
Chair Harris.
Here.
Representatives Tisdel.
Here.
Leitner.
Here.
Posthumous.
Here.
Aragona.
Here.
Neyer.
Here.
Schutte.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Tate.
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Here.
Witset. Mr. Chair, you have 10 members present, a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 10th meeting? And Rep. Aragona volunteers for that. So Rep. Aragona makes the motion. See no objection. The minutes are approved. And on the agenda today, we will be voting out House Bills 5298 and 5299, which we heard testimony on last time with myself and Rep. Morgan. And we do have an H1 for House Bill 5298, which should be in front of you. All right, so the H1 sub would modify legislative intent on how the legislation's implemented by inserting limos and buses into existing list of exempted entities instead of striking the requirement that passenger transportation entities be the first payer as the introduced version. So just a change up accomplishes what we believe is the same thing, and we need a motion to adopt the substitute bill. Rep. Posthumous makes that motion. And Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Harris.
Yes.
Representatives Tisdel.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Posthumous.
Yes.
Aragona.
Yes.
Neyer.
Yes.
Schutte.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Tate.
Yes.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Witset. Mr. Chair, you have 10 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass. The motion prevails.
All right, thank you. And we do have two amendments, both offered by Rep. Fitzgerald?
One for each bill.
Got it. So for Rep. Fitzgerald offers the following amendment to House Bill 5298, and it simply tie bars this bill to House Bill 4576 and 5299. So with that, Mr. Clerk, will you please take roll?
On the motion to amend, Chair Harris.
No.
Representatives Tisdel.
No.
Leitner.
No.
Posthumous.
No.
Aragona.
No.
Schutte.
No.
Neyer.
No.
Carter.
Yes.
Tate.
Yes.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Witset. Mr. Chair, you have 3 yeas, 7 nays, 0 pass. The motion does not prevail.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And let's go back to 5298, sorry. So I need a motion to report House Bill 5298 as substituted and with recommendation that it pass. Vice Chair Tisdel makes that motion. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion, on the motion to report, Chair Harris.
Yes.
Representatives Tisdel.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Posthumous.
Yes.
Aragona.
Yes.
Neyer.
Yes.
Schutte.
Yes.
Carter.
Pass.
Tate.
Pass.
Fitzgerald.
Pass.
Witset. Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays, 3 pass. The motion prevails.
Thank you. House Bill 5298 is reported with recommendation. And next we have an amendment from Rep. Fitzgerald again on House Bill 5299. And this also does the same thing. Tie bars this amendment to, tie bars House Bill 4576 and 5298. And I'm assuming Fitzgerald, you move your amendment?
Yeah, I would seek to move my amendment. Would you deem it in order, Mr. Chair, for me to speak briefly to the amendment?
We're going to pass. Thank you.
It would be out of order for me to speak to the amendment?
If you speak to exactly what the amendment says, yes, but we're not going to pontificate like another committee.
I'm just worried about this committee, sir. Excuse me. Okay.
If you stick to the language that's exactly on the amendment, I'll allow it.
I cannot read the amendment, however. Is that correct?
If you speak to exactly the content, not word for word, but the actual content, I'll allow it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do have a House Bill, or House Bill 5299 has an amendment here proposed that would tie bar this to a recently transmitted bill back to the House 4576, as well as the bill that we just previously voted on, House Bill 5298. I think that helps to encompass our duty as legislators to look out for the health, safety, and well-being of all Michiganders. And so, therefore, I do move my amendment.
Thank you, sir. All right, with that, Mr. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
On the motion to amend, Chair Harris?
No.
Representatives Tisdel?
No.
Leitner?
No.
Posthumous?
No.
Aragona?
No.
Neyer?
No.
Schutte?
No.
Carter?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Woodsett? Mr. Chair, you have 3 yeas, 7 nays, 0 pass. The motion does not prevail.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to report House Bill 5299 with recommendation that it pass. And Representative Neyer makes that motion. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
On the motion to report, Chair Harris?
Yes.
Representatives Tisdel?
Yes.
Leitner?
Yes.
Posthumous?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Neyer?
Yes.
Schutte?
Yes.
Carter?
Motion to report. No. Pass.
Tate?
Pass.
Fitzgerald?
Pass.
Woodsett? Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays, 3 pass. The motion prevails.
Thank you. House Bill 5299 is reported with recommendation. All right, next up on the agenda today are House Bills 5380 through 5386, sponsored by Reps. Tisdel, Cavitt, Young, Neyer, Brenda Carter, and Aragona, and Schutte. This bill package is a reintroduction from last term, and if Rep. Tisdel and Rep. Carter, if you guys will come down to the table. I'm also going to ask Jenny Geis from Diffs. Hi, Jenny. Hi. Yeah, if you can come up too. And Joe, always a pleasure to have you. Absolutely. I'm going to read in a couple of cards really quick while you guys get situated. Got it. Not wishing to speak and opposes the bill as introduced with 5298 and 5299 is Kevin McKinney with CPAN. Not wishing to speak and supports the bill, Ken Morin with Life Insurance Association of Michigan. Not wishing to speak and supports the bill, David Zibel with Jackson National Life. Not wishing to speak and supports the bills, Ken Ross with John Hancock. And then you guys are already sitting at the table, so I won't read these. So welcome. I will let you guys get started and look forward to learning more.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Yes, I am in support and wish to speak. But real quickly, this is a 7-bill package on improving the status of the state of Michigan as a domicile for captive insurance companies. As the chair indicated, these are all reintroductions from last term. They all passed the House with 90 or more votes. Questions? No. So, again, just in general, and I'll turn it over to Rep. Carter. And at the table with me is Gregory Nowakowski. I was just telling Rep. Leitner, you know you're old when the neighborhood kid is now at the testimony table with you. You know, so I've known.
I think we're all kids compared to you there,
Well,
Mr. Vice Chair.
That could be. That very well could be.
I feel like I've come to the wrong committee here. I don't know.
Can I go home? So, in general, the idea of a captive insurance company is that the owners of the insurance company insure themselves. the company is a captive to its owners. And under this definition, in these proposed bills, it can also extend to affiliated or unaffiliated organizations, but where there is a close intimacy, familiarization, control of the owners outside of pure ownership of the capital. Several advantages. If they have little or no losses, they get to benefit from the capital and the premiums that have been paid in annually into the captive insurance companies. No one knows, from an underwriting standpoint, no one knows the risk better than the owners of the company that are underwriting themselves. And they have a direct interest in loss prevention and loss control once a claim is created. My bill makes an adjustment to who can actually be a sponsor or a captive management company. The law in Michigan used to say it had to be another insurance company or reinsurer, and this just opens it up to those like Mr. Nowakowski that have that kind of expertise, the financial status or understandings, good business reputation, making the state more attractive for captive insurance companies brings in and creates opportunities for high income positions, financial management, actuarial sciences, certified public accountant services, the holdings, the bank holdings or financial holdings of the assets and premiums. Those are all good things, and we're just not competitive in the state of Michigan right now with other states. Some of the New England states are market share leaders, or not competitive with many offshore. And I think it would be much better if that money stayed onshore and created work here instead of, down in the Caribbean. So with that, I'll turn it over to Representative Carter.
Thank you, Rep. Tisdel, and thank you, Mr. Chair, the members of this committee, for allowing me to speak today. And thank you, Representative Tisdel, for giving the overview of this exciting package and the role captive insurers play in the insurance market. I'm proud to see this bipartisan package reintroduced this session, and I want to thank Representative Harris for his continued advocacy and partnership on these issues. While I support the package, I want to focus my remarks on House Bill 5384 and 5382. House Bill 5384 makes targeted updates to Michigan's insurance code related to sponsored captive insurance companies. These updates are about clarity and modernization, ensuring that our statutes reflect how these entities operate today while preserving strong regulatory oversight. Importantly, this bill does not weaken consumer protections or reduce the authority of the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. Instead, it provides clearer guidance so sponsored captive insurers can operate efficiently and responsibly within the Michigan's regulatory framework. House Bill 5382 complements this effort by addressing special purpose financial captive insurance companies, specifically updating requirements related to their plans of operation. Together, these bills promote consistency, transparency, and responsible regulation. Taken as a package, these reforms help Michigan remain competitive, support responsible risk management, and give regulators and stakeholders the clarity they need. I urge this committee to support the captives insurance package. Thank you for your time, and now I'll pass it over to our friends at DIFS.
Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Geese, Legislative Liaison Manager at the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. I was almost going to start spelling captives, but somebody stole my thunder last week, so But no, thank you, Chair Harris and members of the committee, and for the opportunity to speak on this captive insurance modernization bill package, House Bills 5380, 5386. I think you heard quite a bit about what captive insurers are, and I'll just go over just real briefly. A captive insurer is a licensed insurance company entirely owned and controlled by the entities that it insures. It provides for alternative insurance coverage options for businesses, small and even Fortune 500 companies. Industries with captive insurers include, but are not limited to, manufacturing, agriculture, construction, real estate, healthcare. A company might choose to insure their risk through a captive for a few reasons. Representative Tisdel outlined some of them. Others are reduced overhead costs that would normally be paid to insure if a company can't find insurance for their risk at their desired price in the standard commercial insurance market. For example, a unique risk. And the other thing is, why is it important to have captive insurers in Michigan? Captive insurance improves economic growth by enhancing business stability and resilience, which encourages investment, fosters job creation, and makes individual businesses more competitive, empowers companies to manage risk more effectively, and retain capital. It's a unique solution to insurance availability. And real briefly, just a little bit background on captives for those who aren't as familiar with captives in Michigan. So we just started licensing captives back in 2008. Captive insurance companies domiciled in Michigan are currently required to obtain a certificate of authority from DIFS and pay a $10,000 application fee. They are required to pay examination fees and expenses, as well as annual renewal fees, which range from $5,000 to $100,000 based on the company's annual premiums. Michigan is currently home to 27 captives and ranks near the middle with regard to the premium written. In 2023, Michigan captive insured premiums exceeded $3 billion, marking an increase of 25% over the previous year. And some of the reasons we see that these reforms are needed is we've had some time to see our law in action, and we can tell it's a bit stale in a few places. So we've worked with Chair Harris, our bill sponsors, stakeholders to compile several of these proposals to make Michigan more attractive and competitive for captives to domicile. So. DIF's goal in supporting these changes to incentivize Michigan businesses with captives elsewhere to move their captives to Michigan, or to get new captives to choose Michigan to set up shop. Michigan has continued the trend of attracting new captive formations in the state, and this bill package would further enhance our ability to do so. A few things just to summarize some of the bills. It clarifies the sponsorship, it broadens the definition of sponsor to include any party and allow any business to be written that is otherwise consistent with Michigan captive law. This change would allow an overall more flexible structure without disrupting the integrity of the captive regulation. It also streamlines the renewal process, allows captives to renew 90 days after their fiscal year end instead of requiring renewals on the arbitrary date of March 1st. Some Michigan captives do not use a calendar year, so using March 1st doesn't really make sense for them. And then also it lowers the application fee. So Michigan has one of the highest application fees among the states, and this would cut it from $10,000 to $5,000, which could result in more captive applications. And also it aligns Michigan with other domestic domiciles. And then lastly, it also streamlines the exemptions and waivers, and allows DIFs we can more easily allow these exemption waivers that we currently do so. Removing this requirement would decrease the cost of regulation and allow captives an accommodation that traditional insurance companies already are entitled to. Overall, these bills serve as a great opportunity to make some important modernizations. Currently in Michigan, Michigan companies that have a captive, they choose to domicile in another state. So, and a lot of times that is due to the, at least in part, our regulatory framework being restrictive and outdated. DIFS conducted a thorough review, compared ourselves to other states, engaged with companies, and put this proposal together. And these reforms are a simple way to update our law and make Michigan more competitive. So thanks for the opportunity to kind of go over these bills, and happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Gregory Nowakowski practices law specifically in the captive insurance arena.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Appreciate the opportunity to talk today. My name is Greg Nowakowski. As mentioned, I work for a law firm called Honigman that does a lot of different captive insurance work, whether it's in Michigan or many other states. And so that's been my practice for the last, not to have old jokes attached to me, for the last 15 years. But at least I'm glad that Representative Tisdel took the hard work in laboring over and trying to describe to you what a captive insurance company is, because I struggle with that. When you do your elevator speech, meeting new people, what do you do? I represent captive insurance companies. Well, what is that? And then you're sitting there trying to figure out how to explain that. So you did a nice job of laying that forward for the committee. We are in support of these bills to modernize and enhance Michigan as a captive domicile. If you look at some of our competitor states, Vermont, biggest domicile in the world, had something like 683 or so different captives, and has similar language to what DIFS is proposing in terms of the captive enhancements that are proposed by the bills. Then you come into a couple of foreign jurisdictions that are second and third, and you get to states like Utah, North Carolina, Delaware, and Arizona that are in the 200-300 captive insurance companies ranges. And of course, there's probably two different ways to think about measuring captives, and one is what Jenny mentioned in terms of premium dollars, and then there's number of captives. And obviously, statistics, you can count all kinds of different funny ways about how many captives there are. But the point is, Michigan with 27 is not in the hundreds yet, and we want to make sure we try to enhance that, particularly for Michigan companies. It's important for them to consider Michigan, but when we say consider Michigan, and then you run into the speed bumps that the current statute has from 2008 when it was first enacted, it becomes an impediment to bringing more and more captive business to the state of Michigan, which is really what we're trying to do. I won't repeat any of the other remarks I had because they've already been covered. You have some written testimony to enhance your midnight reading when you have nothing else to do. But I will make one other comment to one of the bills that talks about clarifying what a captive insurance company can and cannot write under its limited certificate of authority in the workers' compensation coverage arena. And obviously there are at least two regulatory regimes here we're thinking about. One is the workers' compensation authority, not what we're talking about here. That's a different arena. Here we're talking about insurance and what that limited certificate of authority can be used for in terms of workers' comp. There's some language in there that is designed to say, listen, if there's a commercial workers' compensation carrier involved, but let's say there's a $100,000 deductible on that commercial insurance policy, can you put the $100,000 deductible in a captive insurance company? And the way the statute was originally written, there's an argument to say no, you can't. I think DIFS, and you can speak to this, I suppose, I think DIFS is traditionally regulated, and Dave Piner's office is regulated in the sense that the statute is unclear and you can put that in a captive insurance company. So one of the bills is designed to clarify that language, and we've suggested some language as well for the committee's consideration in the written memo that further clarifies that if we're talking about a deductible piece, if we're talking about excess over and above what the workers' compensation statute requires to be written by a commercial authorized carrier, or if we're talking about reinsuring some of that workers' compensation risk in a captive, that a captive could do that vis-a-vis the limited certificate of authority that DIFS issues to a captive. So that's sort of the ending concluding part of our memo to you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here. If you don't mind sticking around for a minute in case we have questions, and I'll just start off. So you had mentioned, I'm just going to pick on you specifically,
That's what I'm
since
here
I
for.
since I
You're
already
welcome
beat
to.
up on my
You
vice
can,
chair.
You can pick on him later. You can pick on me now.
So you mentioned Vermont and maybe a couple other states that this is a really attractive thing in those states. What makes them more attractive?
The distinguishing factor is I think the statute is a little more flexible. And so that's a large part what the proposed amendments are designed to do. When you, like, to give you, you've already mentioned this, but I'll give you an example. A company comes, they have a fiscal year that's 6/30 instead of calendar year, but the statute says you have to make a filing with the insurance department based on a calendar year cadence. The information isn't available, so you have to do a bunch of extra work to make up management financial accounts or something to give to meet your obligations of the statute, but then you're struggling to make your fiscal year mirror what's going on in Michigan. So it's a much more flexible regime. It provides more regulatory authority to Dave Piner's office and the captive group, who's done a fantastic job, of course, with what they have, but we need more flexibility to them to say, listen, you can file, make sure we monitor your filings. We need to make sure your captive insurance company doesn't go go bankrupt. That's important. We want to make sure the coverages we write to Michigan residents has some real force and effect behind it. But do it in a way that the department can have flexibility in regulation and say, listen, your timeline is your timeline, that's fine. File within 3 months of your fiscal year. Give us the same information, just make it work for you. And so I think that's largely a part of it. I think in Vermont, they were earlier in the process. Captives originally started really related in most part to the medical malpractice crisis, 50 years ago now. Make some old comments when some of us were around, some of us weren't. But back in those, I feel like I'm gonna get the hook. So when hospitals couldn't find malpractice insurance to put those coverages forward, in Vermont, the Cayman Islands and Bermuda were sort of the leading domiciles. So they've been around. Vermont's been around for a lot longer than Michigan. Michigan being in 2008, so it hasn't had enough time to sort of develop. So that's another reason that's just a fact. It's not, really related to the legislation. Just a background information for you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from committee? Rep. Fitzgerald.
Thank you all. Appreciate the information. Yes, we did see this last term. One question that I do have is obviously we do have other states and domiciled locations that I guess have had the open sign out for quite a bit longer, right? Vermont and others. We are wanting to make sure that we attract new captives here. How are we putting out that open sign to when we have established networks in North Carolina, Vermont, Delaware, and others? How do we compete against that as Michigan now? Are we doing enough with just this legislation to say we're open for business, we want to see this come here? Or are there, I guess I'm in a competitive world, like you have experienced as, representing some of these captives. Are we prepared to compete?
A couple comments there. One is Michigan, if we have a Michigan-based company, Michigan has to be on the list of considerations for potential domicile. It always is. We'll always do that. That's, from my personal perspective, it's only a small piece of it, admittedly. From a larger perspective, there are a number of different avenues to get the word out. And I believe Dave and his group goes to conferences, the Vermont Captive Insurance Conference, the South Carolina, every domicile usually has some sort of conference where the group gets out and gets the word out saying, hey, we've amended and enhanced our captive statute. You should consider Michigan as a domicile, as a marketing matter, and to try to get to those clients and prospective captive owners to form in the state of Michigan. You can maybe speak to some of that. I don't know. Dave goes to all those different conferences in your group.
Yeah, I'm happy to add to that. And, just to take it back a little bit, so to 2008, when Michigan first implemented our captive statute, I think there was some level of skepticism on the part of the department at the time of, is this a good path we want to go down? We've had a lot of time since then to see what's been impactful in the industry, and it's a good alternative option for some businesses to consider. So since that time, I would say 6-8 years ago or something like that, we started to really dive in deeper on what some other states did better. How are they incentivizing captives to domicile there? As mentioned, Dave Piner goes to these conferences, has those conversations, and has overwhelmingly heard these are the things that we need to change in Michigan statute to incentivize captives to try to domicile here. it is painful when we have a large manufacturer in the state that decides they want to domicile their captive elsewhere, and we want to do everything we can within our power to try to incentivize them as an economic development thing, as a fairness thing, to locate in Michigan and have their captive in our state of Michigan as the primary regulator.
Can you remind me, is it a requirement that the board of the captive meet in the domiciled location annually? Is it required that they meet in that physical location? I can't recall.
The current statute, I believe, requires at least one meeting per year in the state of Michigan, but at least one, and you've checked the box on that regulatory requirement.
And it does have to be in that location, correct?
In the state of
In the
Michigan.
state of Michigan. I mean, Mackinac Island's pretty good, right? I mean, that's not a bad
We'd
place.
love to make Traverse City or Mackinac Island the premier location
Oh,
for
okay.
Honigman North, but we've not quite convinced our folks yet. But we're willing to do it if someone has to.
If you don't mind, I just would like to point out that the bill eliminates it's one of the changes. It eliminates the requirement for the in-state board meeting each year. So to provide that flexibility.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? No? Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you guys for presenting this. With that, we need a motion to excuse absent members. Rep. Fitzgerald makes that motion. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. Absent members are excused, and with no further business before the committee is adjourned.